You might remember that I recently did a video on connecting an external GPU to a really low-end laptop, this laptop, the Asus EE 1000. Now there's one thing about that computer that I did not mention in that video that is interesting. When it was released on 2008, this laptop was apparently worth $699. $700 freaking dollars. Although at some point the price was dropped to $599 US, and some variants of that line seem to be closer to $430. There is something that remains true. General use computers have gotten way cheaper in the last decade, which actually brought some questions. Even when it released, these netbooks had issues running Windows, let alone gaming, so why would you get on a modern budget laptop? What games can you play on it? Is there anything you can do to make it better? In order to explore this topic further, I decided to use the Chuwi Lapbook 14.1. This particular computer was provided to me as a review unit by website Bank Good, the same guys that provided me with the external GPU base. In there, you can get this computer for about $260, which places it squarely on the budget laptop category. Also, you can get 14% off with the code in the description if you want it. But shameless promotion aside, what do you actually get for that? This laptop is equipped with an Intel Celeron N3450. This is a quad-core Apollo Lake CPU clocked at 1.1 GHz, but it can turbo boost up to 2.2, and is equipped with an Intel HD 500 and 4 GB of DDR3 RAM. Believe it or not, this actually places this computer a bit over the second version of the Intel Atom stick that I experimented with recently. But the laptop allows you to run 64-bit Windows and has more RAM. However, keep in mind it's a budget laptop, it does not have any active cooling, and the Apollo Lake CPU family is one of the most entry-level CPU families there is. Very much a budget laptop. Fine, how can we make it a bit better? Well, there are some general Windows tips that you may have heard before and some weird ones that might surprise you. First, the ones you probably know. If you go into the System section of the control panel and then Advanced System Settings, there is going to be a Settings section for performance in the Advanced tab, and in there, you can disable a lot of Windows bells and whistles in the name of performance. If you can go into the Power Plan sections of your settings, you can change into a high performance power plan. Or, if it does not exist, you can create your own. Just make sure the power plan makes your computer use the CPU and GPU to 100% of its power, at least when it's plugged in. In Windows 10, you can use Ctrl-Alt-Delete to open Task Manager and disable programs that start along with your computer. And you can also use msconfig in the search bar to see which services are starting on boot as well. Make sure to hide the important Microsoft services first and then only leave on what is completely necessary. For example, the Steam service is necessary for Steam to work at all, and I play around a lot with the Intel HD control panel. Side note, do not underestimate how much of a difference cleaning up your boot services make when you're on a slow CPU, really. And you can use software like PC Decrapifier to uninstall any bloatware your computer came up with. Curiously enough, this laptop had no apparent bloatware. Next, less obvious tweaks. When people gaming on laptops ask me to recommend just one thing, I always recommend this: update your damn Intel HD driver. If you have an Intel HD laptop, chances are that you have a custom driver that kills performance to extend battery life. As I explained in an integrated graphics video I did ages ago, if you try to use the automatic Intel HD installer and you get an error like this, you really should install the non-custom driver if you want the best performance. You can use the automatic update tool to see which version of the driver you need, then search that version of the driver in the Intel website and install it manually with the method on the video I did. I did not need to do this because this computer was already running the stock Intel driver. Windows 10 seems to be continuously downloading and installing updates in the background, sometimes using your CPU in the most inconvenient of times. While there is no official way of stopping it, you can temporarily stop updates from downloading by marking your Wi-Fi connection as mettered, which you can do while gaming or doing other critical tasks. Warning! Do not leave it at mettered all the time. Update at some point. I cannot stress how bad it is to avoid security updates or the terrible consequences associated with it. Another thing about updates that bothers me is that by default, Windows is sending updates from your computer to others, basically using your computer as an update server while you're still doing other stuff. You can disable that by going into the Advanced Update settings, choose how updates are delivered, and disabling updates from more than one place. Finally, what the fuck even? If you're desperate to free up your CPU from other programs, try this. After you enter a game, use Ctrl-Alt-Delete to open the task manager, go into the Details tab and kill explorer.exe. This is the process that manages the Windows interface, then close the task manager and Alt-Tab back into your game. Now, I know this sounds a bit like saying you should delete Systems32, please don't do that, but on a whim I decided to actually test it out and I did get a couple of frames more in certain games, so I guess you can give it a try if you're desperate. Anyway, when you're done with gaming, you can restore it by opening the task manager again, hitting New Process and starting Explorer.exe. But that does not really answer the third question. What kind of gaming can you get out of a laptop like this? As I usually do, I started with Portal 2, the game that seems to be made out of performance magic because it does well on almost anything, and this laptop was not the exception. Just leaving the settings to their lowest presented a rather pliable state. I decided to do a short test on Left 4 Dead 2, a game I had not tried on this channel before, but that often seems to be made of the same black magic Portal 2 is made from. And once again, with just the lowest settings and a resolution of 720, the game performed quite nicely given the circumstances. But I was also interested in something a bit more modern and active, so I decided to give Rocket League a try as well. This was more of a challenge as the computer is very much under the minimum requirements of the game. However, I had seen some success in the past running this game on Intel Atom computers using the internal resolution scaler, so I recycled that same trick to somewhat successfully play this game on this computer. Far from an optimal experience, but probably still very fun. I did a similar configuration for Mass Effect 2 no long after that, which I decided to test on this laptop as well, with more success than I saw on some of the Intel Atom configurations, although with some obvious sacrifices to visual quality, but still arguably playable. So, I decided to finish with a bit of an extreme experiment and threw Grand Theft Auto 5 into this computer using the low-end configuration found on this link. A resolution of 720 and an internal resolution of 0.5, and on the calmer areas the game does somewhat fine, although it still struggles with some of the most intense moments, but impressive for such a low-end laptop. So what is the bottom line? Well, I'm sure at this point hundreds of people will have commented that it is more budget effective to build a desktop for that price. If you need a cheap laptop for work or school and are looking to do some light gaming while out there, keep in mind these general and game-specific adjustments if you want to have the best chance of enjoying your low-end gaming experience. Thank you to the patrons who help fund these videos as usual. Remember to subscribe for more game-specific videos in the future.